This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 140.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 140, and today I would like to talk to you about black hat marketing. I chose this topic for today's week's podcast because I want to make sure that you understand what it is and that you don't repeat the same mistakes that I have made and many others have made in the past using these strategies for your online business. Because I believe that working hard on your business, investing time into it, should yield long-term results and not some kind of shortcuts that could or could not work. And even if they do work, it's probably temporarily. And in the end, you're going to waste all the time because you will not get the desired results in the long run. And I'll explain more details on that later in this episode. So what exactly is black hat marketing? In online marketing, most of the time we refer to black hat marketing as an unethical or simply against the rules method to rank fast and rank well in search engines such as Google and others. And I'll give you very specific examples of how things used to work and what a lot of people and a lot of online marketers used to do in order to use these strategies for their online businesses, for the websites and for their blogs. Before I begin going deeper into all the details, I would like to remind you that Google's main goal, besides making money, of course, is to provide an amazing user experience and to provide the best search results they possibly can. By doing that, over all these years, Google was able to become the best and the most popular search engine simply because they give you the results that you want to see on the front page. If you look at the list of the results after performing a Google search, you will most likely see some ads on the sides, but they aren't really in your face. And what you're getting in your main screen there, the main results, are actually the search results for what you were looking for. And Google is trying every single day to make those results better and better. They're trying to find the best match for that keyword phrase that you're searching for. And they keep updating their algorithm every single day, pretty much, and they're improving it. And of course, they aren't going to tell us what exactly a website needs to be or how it needs to be done in order to rank well. Because if we as marketers or anyone else really know what is required for best rankings or for number one rankings on a search engine, we'll probably try to outsmart the system and we'll probably try to do something in order to get our website ranking there. So Google gives us really generic answers such as you need to have content that's very relevant to that keyword that's being searched within Google. You need to have fresh content. Your content needs to be of good quality. Your content needs to be original. Your website speed needs to be quite fast, and all those basic things. And to be honest with you, that's what works. This has been working for all these years. And whenever I tried to play the system to outsmart Google, it worked sometimes, but in the end, I always ended up either losing my rankings, either losing my website, or getting it banned from search results. And that's not fun, especially if you put in the money or the time into trying to find or use that shortcut of some sort to get better rankings. It took me a while to realize that in order to get good rankings within the search results, I simply need to build a good website and I need to put in the time and the money into building my business and not into trying to read the latest trick on how to outsmart Google or any other search engine. So let's look in some of the strategies that have been used a lot in the past, and some of them are still being used, and I'll be addressing that issue as well. So let's jump straight into it. First one, the most popular probably and that lasted the longest time, was buying links. Buying links is when you ask a webmaster, when you ask someone who already has a reputable website or the website that has any kind of rankings or authority to simply link back to your website in exchange of money. You would either pay them monthly or you would pay them one-time fee. That's not really the point here, but you would give them money and they would link back to your website. Now, how a lot of search engine works is that the more links you get pointing to you, the higher you rank. And this used to work really, really well. Sometimes you would get 5 or 10 links pointing to your website and you would skyrocket to number 1 for your desired keyword phrase. And Google started figuring that out and punishing the websites that were doing it. They were punishing both the buyer and the seller for that service. Now, the easy way to spot that was simply because the websites that were linking to each other were not supposed to be linking to each other. It didn't make any sense. Let's say if I had a website that was talking about woodworking and you had a website that was talking about diets and nutrition, it wouldn't really make sense that one website links to another. And this is basically how Google figured out that game. When a lot of websites that were not relevant to each other were linking to each other for whatever reason. And that actually happened later because at first, a lot of these websites that were selling links, they simply had huge banners on their front pages. Buy a link from our website or something along these lines. And it was really, really easy to figure out. Now, eventually that kind of stopped working. It still does work now, but it's a lot harder to actually buy links and get better rankings from doing that. Once again, I explained that Google does not reveal how its search algorithm works, but a lot of people still swear by the fact that links are important. And when people link to you, you get better rankings. I can't say that I don't agree with that. Well, I actually do agree with that. I think that when a lot of websites are pointing to your website, you do get better rankings, you get more trust, you get more authority, but the links have to be relevant. And most of the time, those links are acquired naturally. And if that's the case, then you shouldn't worry about anything. Now, if you're paying anyone to link to you, there is a chance that Google will be able to figure that out with time and you will get a penalty, or that other website would get a penalty, or both of you. So that was, in my opinion, one of the most important and biggest strategies for SEO, either buying links or exchanging links, because sometimes people would offer to exchange links. I link to you, you link to me, no money is being exchanged, but the point is the same. It's two websites that shouldn't be linking to each other, and the only goal of them doing that is to outsmart Google, which Google does not appreciate. Let's move on to the second black hat marketing strategy, and that was keyword stuffing. As you know, Google looks for keywords within your content or variations of different keywords, and this helps them understand what your content is about, and it helps them rank that content. Now, when people figured that out, they would simply stuff content with a whole bunch of keywords or the same keyword. They would just repeat it in every single sentence, and believe it or not, for the very short time, this actually worked. People who stuffed their content with the same keyword over and over again would actually see high rankings for those websites. I'm not going to go much further into that strategy because obviously it doesn't work anymore. And the best way to rank for a specific keyword, in my opinion, in 2017 and further on, is to write naturally. That keyword that you're trying to rank for, if it is relevant to your content, it will naturally appear within your content. You don't have to stuff it all over the place. You don't have to count how often do you use it in your content. Just use it naturally. That's it. That's the secret. Next black hat marketing strategy that was very popular was article spinning. So what we would do, we would basically write one single article and find a lot of different synonyms for the words that are within that article. Then we would load up that article within a software of some sort and include all those synonyms and let the software spin hundreds, if not thousands of different copies of the same article. It would just replace the words. Sometimes it would change paragraphs, places, and in the end, you would end up with hundreds of new original articles. Of course, if a human would actually read all those articles one by one, they would understand that all those articles are completely same. They're just rewritten. They're just a little bit different, but they are essentially talking about the same thing, and they are kind of written by a machine. It was really obvious. It wasn't that good of a content. So what Google was looking for is original content. They were simply making sure that the articles are not copy-paste, that they're not exactly the same. So when you would spin that content, when you would spin those articles, Google would actually see them as original content. So you were able to create hundreds of articles on your website within a week or a day if you wanted to, and they would all read like original content. So Google's bots, Google's algorithm would see it as, wow, this website is producing so much original content. That's awesome. Let's rank them somewhere at the top of the search results. Now, you can imagine that although it did work for a while and Google search algorithm was happy with that, when people, real users that would actually use the search engines, would look at those articles, they weren't really happy because that content was junk. It was not helpful. It didn't read naturally, and it was just of bad quality. Then they would click on another link within the same website and they would find pretty much the same article, just with a few words and a few phrases that would be different, but essentially would be the same thing that doesn't make much sense. And that's exactly what was going on for a while. Now, there were many other services that help you do that. There were even plugins for WordPress where it would do that automatically for you. You could set that plugin to post like 2 articles per day on your website and keep recreating the same articles and spinning the content so Google will think that this is original and new content. Thinking about that kind of makes me laugh right now because now I understand that it did not make any sense and it was really horrible strategy, but it did work for a little while nonetheless, and a lot of people made money doing that. It's unfortunate that these kind of things existed. However, they did. And to be honest with you, I think people that created that spinning software made more money than actual users of that software because they were selling it for $50, $100 a month, and even more money. So as they say, during the gold rush, you need to sell shovels. So there you go. Don't do that. Don't spin articles. Don't try to steal content that's not yours. Create your own content. Make sure it's of high quality. Make sure it's original and put some time into that content. One of the last examples that I would like to give you here is forum and comment spamming. Now, this was a big one, and of course, it started as a manual thing. A lot of people would simply find blogs and comment on those blog entries, leaving their own URL, their own web address within that comment, and eventually you would get a whole bunch of links from different blog posts and you would get better rankings. The same thing would be for using different forums. You would sign up for an account, you would add your link in your profile, you would make a few posts on that forum, including your links once again. And eventually, Google would see that, wow, okay, there's a lot of links coming in talking about this website must be good. But it didn't end there. When people figured out that it takes too much time to create those comments manually, some other people came out with pieces of software that would allow you to create thousands and thousands of those comments within minutes. Just imagine how much fake traffic and spam was created during that time when, thousands of people were using a software that would leave thousands of comments and create thousands of forum entries within minutes and leave those links everywhere. Of course, Google figured that out once again and fought it by punishing those websites that were using that, by introducing the no follow attributes to links in comments and changing quite a few other things. Eventually, they simply started punishing websites that had links coming from blog posts, and even later they stopped caring about those links altogether and they do not give any importance to those links anymore, so it doesn't really do anything. In our time and age, it doesn't make any sense to use the software or to use comment spam at all. Now, I know that some people still do that. I see those kind of comments showing up on my blogs every single day, and I have a few plugins that block them, and to be honest, it surprises me that people still use that. That strategy obviously does not work. It does not bring value to my readers, to my blog post. So normally most people will never approve those kind of comments. And even if they somehow get through, Google doesn't look at them. Google doesn't care about those links anymore. They don't bring any value to the linking strategy or whatever you want to call it. It's completely obsolete and useless. So if you ever stumble upon anything like that, don't waste your time. Don't even look at it. Don't go there. I'd like to mention another strategy that we usually refer to as gray hat because it's not really black hat. It wasn't really against the rules. This strategy was short-lived. It did work for a little while, but once again, it took Google a very small amount of time to figure that out and to put an end to it. That was called exact match domain. That means that you would buy a domain name that would include your exact keyword. So let's say you were trying to sell television sets as an affiliate and your main domain name was something like Best TVs in 2016. So you would simply go out there and purchase besttvsin2016.com. You would write 1 or 2 articles, put on the website, and boom, you would be ranking somewhere at the very top, if not number one in Google search results. You see how easy that is? And that worked for a while because Google did attribute everything to the keywords. So Google would check, okay, the exact keyword in the domain name, exact keyword in the title of a post, exact keyword in a few sentences within that content, within that article, then your website deserves to be number one for that keyword. It was that easy. And of course, Google figured that out really fast, that this is kind of a bug within the algorithm. And simply because you have that exact match domain, you don't necessarily deserve to be ranked number one. So in the end, they simply removed the importance of that exact match domain name from their search algorithm. And that's how it ended. A lot of people ended up with hundreds of exact match domains that were deranked, that lost their rankings overnight, and that was pretty much it. That was the end to that gray hat strategy. There's one strategy that still seems to work to this day, and it's called PBEnds, which is private blog networks, which means that you would either buy links from very private blog networks, or you would build your own blog network and link to your main website. Now, how people would do it initially would be buying different hosting packages from different places, buying different domain names from different places once again, so there is no association between those websites, putting some basic content on those websites, and then having each and every one of these websites or these blogs from that one network linking back to your main website, hence giving you that link juice, as we used to call it. And that was a really big thing just a few years ago. Now, to this day, I know some people that use PBEnds and they swear by them. In my opinion, this is a shortcut that probably is going to get shut down by Google eventually. They are getting better and better at figuring those schemes out. I'm not saying that this will happen 100%, but I'll tell you that I will never be using anything like PBEnds simply because I don't want to lose another website. I don't want to go down in rankings, and I don't want to waste my time. Because whenever I hear of people using PBEnds and telling me that it's really expensive because a proper blog network has to be done in a very specific way and it costs a lot of money to run that, I don't really care because I see that my websites are getting better and better rankings. It does take time, of course, but I know that I'm not doing anything that is against Google's rules, or I'm not doing anything that could eventually be against the rules. I'm just creating good quality content. That's all I'm doing, and I know that I'm not getting punished. So the Extra Paycheck is one of the few blogs that I started that I never used any black hat or gray hat marketing on, and it never suffered any penalties whatsoever, and it only went up and up in rankings. Now, I've had many other websites that I lost over time because I thought that I was smarter than Google, and I thought that I could buy a few links, or I could spend some articles, or I could keyword stuff, or whatever, any of those methods that I mentioned in today's episode. So my advice today would be staying away from anything that's unethical or seems to be against the rules imposed on us by those search engines. Simply create amazing websites, spend time working on them, and you're going to get your rankings and you're going to get your traffic. And that's how it works, in my opinion. And I think Google will only get better and better at this. They will keep improving their search algorithm, and all of the websites that use some kind of shortcuts or some kind of trickery will eventually get punished and lose their rankings. So what's the point of wasting your time and money into something that's going to get shut down eventually? Why not build a real online business instead and build something that the users love and something that search engines love? If you have any questions about today's episode, or affiliate marketing or internet marketing in general, do head over to extrapodcast.com/140. This is where I'll be putting up a show notes page for today's episode, and you can use the comment form on that page to ask your questions and to share your stories. Also, head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes in order to subscribe to the show. If you haven't already, please do leave a rating and a review, which will help the show tremendously. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.